A repórter que vocês viram logo no começo dessa reportagem, Clarissa Ward, ali no meio da confusão. Ela está no sonho de todo repórter, que é estar exatamente no meio de onde as coisas estão acontecendo, que no caso dela exige uma enorme coragem pessoal, além de habilidade profissional. Clarissa Ward é a Chief International Correspondent da CNN. Tive a oportunidade de gravar uma entrevista com ela logo depois daquela situação pela qual ela passou em Jalalabad, daqueles tiros que vocês ouviram. A entrevista completa vai ao ar num programa especial que nós da CNN Brasil vamos trazer para vocês sobre o Afeganistão durante o fim de semana. Alguns trechos da minha conversa com Clarissa Ward, a Chief International Correspondent da CNN, nós separamos para vocês agora na sequência.
The Taliban has been fairly receptive and cordial to journalists, telling us that we are free to go about and do our work and do our reporting. But there's always that sense slightly of being on the edge, because with all the different fighters, you never know who you're going to bump into, what their attitudes might be. There's been a few times where they've told me to cover my face or stand to the side. Which doesn't necessarily offend me because, I'm just trying to do my job here. I'm not expecting them to invite me for tea. But it does mean that you have to plan things a little bit and just be mindful that it's a, slightly volatile situation. Initially, there was a lot of apprehension about what the Taliban's attitude would be like to Westerners because it wasn't so long ago they were kidnapping and killing Westerners when they had the opportunity. So understandably, a lot of people were very fearful. Actually, so far, they seem to be taking a more benevolent approach. But I think you always have the sense here that things could very quickly go wrong, especially when you're in a more chaotic situation like the scenes that we saw at the airport earlier.
Como é que você tem abordado, como é que tem sido a possibilidade que você tem de conversar, tanto com os combatentes por parte do Talibã, como pessoas que representam o regime político, como tem sido a possibilidade de conversar com eles?
Well, I would say several things. First of all, I'm really privileged to work closely with an Afghan award-winning filmmaker called Najibullah Qureshi. He and I first collaborated on a story about the Taliban a year and a half ago, and we spent a couple of days with them, or 3 days with them in the north of the country. And so I got a lot of exposure to the group during that period. And then we've been here on the ground now for over 2 weeks. We did a story with the Taliban in Ghazni. And so you do start to learn a little bit how to behave with them, and which is not to say that you change the way you are in order to make them comfortable. But for me, if I am happy to dress conservatively, to act in a certain way and not impose myself too much while still asking the hard questions, then I'm comfortable with that. I'm happy to do whatever it takes to be able to ask those tough questions, to be able to get that access.
Tem uma grande lição dela aí, para todo jornalista que se preocupa com como cobrir uma zona de conflito. Tem uma grande lição dela ali. A íntegra dessa entrevista com Clarissa Ward, ela vai ao ar no programa CNN especial O Talibã no Afeganistão, sábado às 5h45 da tarde, domingo ao ar às 9h20 da noite.